Hello guys and welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for another news live stream to talk to you about the latest news and rumors currently going on at AC Milan. Lots to talk about today. First of all, I'm going to be speaking about Ocampos, Rodrigo Ely, and finally the injuries to Sciglio and Bonaventura. Like I said, lots to talk about. As usual, make sure to get involved in the conversation by writing in the comment section. I'll be reading your comments throughout the live stream. So let's get started with Ocampos, because finally today the official announcement did come in from AC Milan, and he has joined the team on loan until the end of the season. Of course, this is a 6-month loan deal. It is a dry loan. I don't believe there's any option to buy or obligation to buy for the player, but it is important to say that of course, Milan had to deal with Marseille regarding this deal, because even though he is joining on loan from Genoa, we have to recall that Ocampos is actually a Marseille player. He's owned by the French team, therefore we had to negotiate with Marseille, but everything seems to be fine. Like I said, it's just a transfer of loan deals from Genoa to Milan, and I definitely hope that he does have a very good time at Milan, also because he is pretty much the backup winger now to Deulofeu on that left side. But I'll be speaking all about that a bit later on when I do speak about Bonaventura's injury. Now, moving on, the next player I did want to speak about is Rodrigo Ely. Of course, the player hasn't played at all this season, and a move towards another club was more than likely for the Brazilian. Now, it seems to be that Rodrigo Ely is heading to La Liga club, Deportivo Alaves. This will be once again a loan deal. The player has spent a few seasons now on loan deals. Even though he's owned by Milan, he has moved to Avellino and so forth, as we all know. And really, Rodrigo Ely doesn't seem to have the time and space to find a spot at Milan. He's obviously behind other center backs at the moment for his starting position, such as Paletta, Romagnoli, Zapata, and so forth, Gustavo Gomez. Just to mention them all, Rodrigo Ely is pretty much at the end of this list, and it's more than likely that he wouldn't be seeing any playing time from now on until the end of the season. Pretty good move if you ask me. Finally, he's going to possibly be getting some playing time now in this La Liga club. The deal is not yet official. We're still waiting for the official confirmation from Milan, but it should be happening sooner or later. From what I read also, he has already done his medicals with the club, so I'm expecting it to be announced officially tomorrow, either by Deportivo Alaves or AC Milan. Now it's time to get into the big news, because of course yesterday, besides the loss that we suffered against Udinese, we also suffered the loss of 2 players on injury. And to me, I'm still pretty much thinking about that game where there were so many wrongs, so many faults, not only from the referee and from the Paul there for injuring the Sciglio, but also from the way that we were playing. Our performance wasn't good at all. I did mention it several times throughout the course of yesterday, through the live stream watch along and through the match review, but obviously speaking, it wasn't a very good day for us. It really wasn't a good day, not only, like I said, because of the result, but also due to these injuries. And initially, we didn't think that these injuries were going to be that serious. Today, however, the players did perform their first test. They wanted to make sure what the extent of their injuries really were, and we finally got some time frames. At least for the Sciglio, we know that he's going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks due to a sprained ankle. Obviously, from that challenge from Rodrigo De Paul from Udinese, they're a terrible challenge on the Sciglio, which once again, I pretty much was thinking of it all night long yesterday. How he wasn't sent off for that, only God knows. But to me, it's just ridiculous that he was capable of continuing to play and actually score the game winner. I guess we can't rest just on that idea. Like I said before, we have our faults as well. But besides the loss, now we also have the Sciglio missing for 3 to 4 weeks. due to that. And I've seen pictures of him on crutches today, walking out of the clinic. And to me, it's something that I don't want to see with any player at Milan. This is besides the fact of me or any other person saying that Sciglio wasn't playing good this season. At the end of the day, these injuries go much further than that, and we don't want to impose these injuries on anyone. We definitely don't hope that they get injured. But at least for Sciglio, there will be substitutions, options that could replace him. And I'm speaking about Antonelli and Vangioni, which, by the way, Vangioni did see some game time yesterday after his injury. So what I'm expecting now is that Antonelli will be replacing Sciglio as a starter, and Vangioni will be his backup there in that left back position. Vangioni was also another player that was supposed to leave this winter transfer window, but he's actually got some playing minutes. He got some yesterday, and he got some against Juventus there during the Coppa Italia match. So it seems that Vangioni will be remaining at least until the end of the season, and it seems like he will be getting more playing time than usual. Now I have to speak about Bonaventura because, of course, that is the title of the video, and it's really going to spark up a discussion now because, of course, we don't know yet the severity of his injury. What we do know is that it's obviously more serious than Sciglio's injury. It's something that he's going to need to have surgery in order to fix. It's not going to go away by itself. He did receive a lesion. That's what I know. I think it was to his thigh. But it's not looking good. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is that it's not looking good for Bonaventura. It's not looking good for Milan because we all know how dependent we are on Bonaventura to work his magic on that left side. He has scored goals. He has provided lots of assists. Overall, he has been one of our most informed players this season. And unfortunately, we might not be able to see him until the end of the season. And that is that he won't be playing anymore until the end of the season due to this injury. Now, like I said, and let's be careful with how we word our things right now, we still don't know the severity of his injury, meaning that we don't know how long he will be out for. What we do know is that he's going to be out for at least 2 months, that's for sure, because the injury with the surgery is going to put him out for at least 2 months. So if you take a look at that, minimum, he's going to be coming back at the beginning of April, and that's a minimum. What many reports are saying is that he's possibly going to be out for 3 to 4 months. 3 to 4 months, and that's really going to put it towards May, the end of May, if that's true. Because of, let's recall that we are pretty much in February. So that's 3 to 4 months from now. It's going to be around the end of April, end of May, if that's his time frame. Personally, I think that he's going to be out at least 3 months. Like I said, it seems that's pretty severe, even though we don't have an accurate time frame. We will know exactly the extent of his injury in a couple of days. We just don't know yet how long he's going to be out for. But from what I'm understanding is that he's going to be out at least for 3 months. Like I said, the minimum is that he's going to be out for 2 months. But I think it's going to be at least 3 because by the time you get back into shape, we never know really the extent of these injuries. It could be longer than usual. It really isn't less than usual. What I'm saying is that always expect it to be longer than usual. So I definitely hope that Bonaventura will return by the end of the season. We all know how much of a key player he is, like I said before. But this goes back to the discussion I've been having all month long with you guys, and that is depth. Of course, the key word being depth there, because I've said it over and over again. Guys like Bonaventura, guys like Suso, they cannot play every match in the season. They're going to get tired. They're going to be more prone to injuries. Their fatigue levels are only going to go up. They're never going to go down. And you cannot afford to play guys each week, each game. That is why you need guys that are perfect backups to these players. Guys that could come in and get the job done. And unfortunately, I'm not saying I was expecting this. But like I said, when players play for a long time without any rest, they're more prone to injury. and that's exactly what happened to Bonaventura. Thankfully, we got Deulofeu, and what I mean by thankfully is that if he didn't arrive, we were probably going to be stuck with Niang on the left side for possibly 3 months. And in my opinion, I think Deulofeu arriving might not be better than Bonaventura, but I think it was a blessing in disguise that we at least got Deulofeu to replace Bonaventura on that left wing. Then, of course, Ocampos will become the substitute for Deulofeu at this point. But just imagine we were stuck with Niang, for example, on that left side. Someone that didn't really give us that continuity. Himself was being lazy, and we were stuck. We were going to be stuck with him. Now, not to mention Niang again and over again, but what I mean is that we should be considering ourselves lucky that we at least got Deulofeu and to replace Bonaventura. He could do very good things for us still. But unfortunately, this injury is really going to hurt Milan, in my opinion. Like I said, we were heavily depending on Bonaventura to do a lot of good things this season. He did very good things this season. But unfortunately, I think this loss means a lot for Milan. And it could definitely hurt our chances of making it to Europe. That is, of course, if Deulofeu decides to show up and take over Bonaventura, gets the goals that Bonaventura was getting, gets the assists that he was getting as well, then we might be in a different ballpark. But at the moment, this to me is a major risk for our European chances. I know it's just one player, but that one player we're speaking about here is Giacomo Bonaventura, the key to this team. The only guy that was really up front, at least, besides Suso, one of the only guys that was holding this team by its strings. And to me, this is a very big loss. Very big loss. I'm hoping that he returns sooner rather than later, but this is almost a tragedy for every Milan fan. And like I said, this month of January was really a dark month for Milan. Bad results, 2 injuries that we could have avoided against Udinese yesterday. We picked up a bad defeat yesterday against Udinese. It was really a dark month for us Rossoneri fans. So I hope that next month will be better. But like I said, it all depends on who fills in Bonaventura's shoes. Will Deulofeu be capable of filling Bonaventura's shoes? And that's exactly the discussion I want to have now. What does this injury mean for Milan? Does it mean that Milan won't be able to make it to Europe anymore? Or you guys still believe in the opportunity to Europe for Milan, even without Bonaventura? I want to know all of that in the comment section below. How do you feel about these injuries given to the Sciglio and Bonaventura? Let me know all of that in the comment section below, and I'll be reading your comments for the next few minutes. Marcello Audino says, not to sound negative, but I think this is a huge hit to us. Milan will struggle for the rest of the season, and we know how important that left side really is for Milan. Obviously, for whoever has been watching the team on a regular basis, we all know how much we really depend on those wings and how much we use them. Now, like I said, Deulofeu is capable of doing very good things from that left side, don't get me wrong. But Bonaventura, knowing this team inside and out, really was one of the smartest players in our team. And to see him out for at least 2 months, to me, it's really a big loss. It's really a big loss. Arjun still believes that we can qualify for Europe. Carlos says, disgusting from Udinese. It's just sickening. To be honest with you, the Bonaventura injury, it's not like it was really imposed by any Udinese players. I think all it was, I wouldn't say that Bonaventura got injured on himself, but it was pretty much, once you play a lot, you're more prone to injuries. And that's exactly what happened with Bonaventura. De Sciglio will be a different case. Of course, we all know what happened with him. But yes, moving on. Franco says, well, it's a good thing we just signed Ocampos because without Bonaventura and Yang, we now don't have a backup winger. That's exactly it. So at least we do have a backup winger. Many people are still asking me, what do I think about Ocampos? And the thing is that, personally, I don't know much about him. I've said this over and over again during the course of the month. But I'm hoping that he embarks in this new challenge in the best way possible. I hope he contributes to the team in the best way possible. He's going to get more playing time than he was originally planned to get. Of course, he was supposed to be the third option behind Bonaventura and Deulofeu, but now he's going to become a second option. So I guess we're going to be seeing more of him in the near future. I don't know what to expect from him really, but let's see what happens. Blake Production says, I hope Deulofeu will be fit soon as possible since we will have Bonaventura injured. From what I've seen from Deulofeu, yesterday he played 60-65 minutes. He did show some very good things. Like I said, personally, I think it's an upgrade over Niang. He was capable of doing good movements, especially, when he was moving from a wing position to a more central position. And I think his vision is very, very good. Way better than Niang. He was making some smart passes. Some people were actually arguing with me over the fact that he should be taking more shots. He should have more of a responsibility into taking more shots and just not opt for the easy solutions, that is passes. But to me, I see him as a more well-rounded player than Niang. Like I said, his vision is better from what I've seen so far. In 65 minutes against Udinese was good. Also, the 10 minutes against Juventus, they were good as well. So I'm expecting good things from now on until the end for Deulofeu. The real thing is, will he be capable of filling Bonaventura's shoes? And that's the main question right now. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Seyun Birinci says, it's a big challenge for Montella now. Losing such a key player may require a change in formation to survive in the league. It will all depend on Deulofeu's performance as his replacement. That's exactly what I mentioned. The change of formation could arrive, but it could not arrive. I think Montella's really fixed on this 4-3-3 though, and lots of people have been complaining about Montella's choices and tactics because right now, in terms of a tactician, he's not being the best, to be honest. Because yes, he's been playing this 4-3-3, but besides the game against Cagliari when we switched to a 4-2-4 in desperate conditions where we had to get a goal at all costs, we haven't really seen a great tactician mind behind Montella. We haven't really seen him change formation over the course of games to give us an advantage over games. So we're going to see exactly if he's capable of changing formation in the short run or not, now that Bonaventura is injured. But let me know also what you guys suggest with this Bonaventura injury. Which formation should Milan go for now? Speaking of that, Serial Killer says, I think it is time to change formation. Deulofeu and Suso on the wings, Bacca and Lapadula in the attack with Locatelli and Kuchka in the middle. What do you think? Teams are really starting to stop us. And I think one of the major things with Milan at the moment, and I think many people could agree with this, is that Milan is becoming pretty predictable, especially in the front. I think teams have really figured us out in terms of what we're capable to do, and that is always play the wings, really always try to tend to use those wings rather than anything else. But at the moment, personally, I believe that Montella needs to make wiser decisions. We cannot just afford to always play this 4-3-3. Like I said, it's becoming predictable. Teams are figuring us out. They know exactly what we're going to be doing in games. And life will be difficult, unless we find some new tactics, some new style of plays with this team. Then teams will know exactly how we play from now on until the end of the season. And that's really going to hurt our chances of reaching our objectives. Moving on, do you think Matty Fernandez will play more now? I don't really see the inclusion of Matty Fernandez being related to Bonaventura's injury, to be honest with you. But really, I don't think this will make a difference for Matty Fernandez. Getting back to Sirikilla, to your comment there where you were talking about the formation, I actually did speak about this the other day, and I think what you're suggesting is a 4-2-3-1, or even a 4-2-4. Is that what you're suggesting, or maybe a 4-4-2? I could see Deulofeu and Suso being played almost as wide midfielders. The real problem with that to me is that Suso and Deulofeu will be they will pretty much be asked to play a more defensive role as well, because a 4-4-2, yeah, definitely you will be contributing to the attack as the wide midfielders, but let's recall that you're also gonna have to come back and help out the defense in that formation. And to me, I think that Deulofeu and Suso, not saying they don't have defensive characteristics, but personally, I don't think that we should be stressing them out more than we already are. What I mean by that is that Suso and Deulofeu will be playing a more involved game. And what I mean by that is that they're going to have to really focus on the defensive aspect of their game as well as the attacking aspect of their game. And I think that's going to be way too much on players like Suso and Deulofeu. Suso has been playing a shitload of games this season. And personally, I don't even know how he's coping with the fatigue. If we're asking of him to play even defensively now to help out the defense, I think that's just too much of an ask. But it could be a solution. I could definitely see where it could be a solution. But I think that Montella will want to stick to that 4-3-3 formation and just really replace the missing pieces at the moment. Franco says, I don't think it is the time to switch formations right now. We are on a bad run of form and we can't afford to slip up. And that's another thing that I wanted to speak about, because that's a good point you make there, Franco. I think that a switch in formation will once again add to the gamble of switching formations. What I mean by that is really the fact that I don't think Milan could afford risking changing formations at the moment. The team has been playing 4-3-3 all season long. Is it really the time to risk and experiment different formations against teams in the Serie A? I don't really think so. I think what Montella should be doing is sticking to the module and maybe changing it in game, and that is making it less predictable for teams. Because if we already start with a 4-2-4 or a 4-4-2 or whatever the case is, a 4-2-3-1, if we already start with that formation, I think that players will not be able to adapt to it right away. Maybe it could be something that we could do in the course of games to throw off the opponents, as they know we are used to this 4-3-3 formation. But if we do switch it in games, like maybe at the 60th minute or at the 70th minute, that will make it less predictable. Maybe that's a solution that we could use. Moving on. Super Kaka 22 Milan also says, I don't think a formation change is appropriate. Our strengths lie on the wings. Centrally, we are very weak. I doubt that Suso can play as good as a trequartista. Football Bro says, this is a very bad for the season. Why did Bonaventura have to get injured now? Obviously, there always has to be something going on with this team. I mentioned it with some buddies of mine, and I'm just saying the fact that every single time, if it's not one thing, it's another thing. And I don't know why we're a team like that. And, if it's not an injury, it's going to be something else. There's always something wrong with this team. Always. Aniket says, Gio Deulofeu's defensive and offensive work rates are way higher than Niang. It will make all the difference. He has the quality to replace Bonaventura. I'm not really debating over his defensive or offensive work rates. What I'm saying is that personally, I don't think that he will be able to play a role where he's going to be asked to always play defensively and offensively and changing roles like that. Also, someone was mentioning to me yesterday that the the Everton manager didn't want Deulofeu specifically for that, because he didn't have these qualities of tracking back and so forth. And that's why he didn't want him at the team anymore. He could be wrong. I could be wrong. That's what I heard. And personally, I think that we shouldn't change. Like I said, it's not that we shouldn't change formation. I just said that I don't think it's worth the risk to change formation at the beginning of games and just go on blindly into games. Like I said, maybe a better solution will be changing formation throughout the game to make pretty much our plays less predictable. Joe, you're wrong. This is the perfect time to change the formation. It is a risk, but just look at what Conte did. They changed the formation and won 13 straight with Chelsea. Alright, bro, but Do you think we have the players that Chelsea does? Definitely not. And it's not a risk that I will be taking with Milan. If you like risk with Milan, then that's your opinion. But we are not a team that's on Chelsea's level at the moment. We don't have the players that Chelsea has in terms of quality. Conte is another mastermind over changing formations and playing players in the right positions. We don't have those players, so you can't even compare the two. Blake says, by the way, Joe, I wanted to thank you for your videos. You really keep me up to date about Milan. I listen to your videos while I edit my videos. Well, thank you for that, Blake. Check out his channel if you haven't already, by the way. Football Bro says, how long is Bonaventura injured exactly? Because I never heard. They still don't have a specific time frame. Like I said, the minimum is going to be 2 months, but it could be as much as 3 or 4 months. Filippo G says, how did you see Deulofeu in our last match? In my opinion, he searches too many times a personal solution. He always asks for the ball on the feet. I don't think so. I think that besides always dribbling, I think that he always tries to find a teammate rather than goes for the shot. I think I've only seen him shoot once or twice last game. And if you recall, on 2 instances against Udinese, he could have went for the shot, but he decided to lay it off to Bacca once and another time to Suso, and he could have went for the shot. So I don't really think it's all about being personal solutions there. Anika says, Joe, what do you think will happen on deadline day tomorrow? Will this injury bring one more? I don't think so. I think Milan have already communicated, like Sky has mentioned, that Milan won't even be looking for a replacement for Bonaventura or De Sciglio. There's been reports of Giaccherini being offered to the club, but to be honest with you, I don't think anything will happen. I think these transfers are pretty much going to be it. And I mean the transfers of Deulofeu and Ocampos. Those are pretty much going to be our transfers for this transfer window. Seyun says, I think if Deulofeu does good with Suso and a good striker, we can still survive in our hopes for Europe. If Bacca was the one who gets this injury instead of Bonaventura, I would be very optimistic. Clayton says, if we change formation, probably we will go with a 4-4-2, but for now, Montella needs to change something in the game because it's always the same passing back and same build-up. I completely agree with you, Clayton. It's always a complete... very predictable. Like I said, we are becoming a very predictable team. We've always been a predictable team, even in previous years. Just look at last season and the season before that. I think we had a good run of form this season in the first half. Like I said, teams were still studying us. They didn't really know what to expect from our team. Sometimes we got results really pulled out of the hat with some Lapadula goals at the end of the games. We got lucky sometimes, like I said. But now, I think each team pretty much knows how we play. And like you said there, Clayton, it's always a continuous passing back between the defenders. The midfield is not capable of really moving, transitioning from the midfield to the attack. And like I said, there's many problems at this team. Problems that many people weren't seeing in the first half of the season. But I was always saying it, and you guys that have been watching it on a daily basis, I've always said it when people were saying, do you think that we were making it to the Champions League or the Europa League? I've always said it, that it's still very early to judge. And people were already going on conclusions that this team could make it to the Champions League, this and that. But I was saying it over and over again. It was just way too early to tell these things. And really, I think the only indication or the real indication of where this team could end is once we finish the month of February or maybe mid-March. That's where we could really see where Milan could end up in. And even then, you know, if the standings stay as tight as they are, we might even go into April without knowing exactly where this team is going to end up. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. Maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Some of you want me to speak about Luca Vido. Anika says, Luca Vido has been loaned out to Cittadella, star player of the Primavera side. Yes, I actually read those news. Luca Vido has been loaned out to Cittadella, and he's had a very good season so far in the Primavera. Now he's moving into Cittadella, where you know, he's going to be playing with the big boys, I guess. Even though it's not Serie A, it's still very good competition for him. And hopefully he'll be coming back to Milan in the summer, stronger than ever. And who knows, maybe he could be integrated with the senior squad. Arjun says, Gio with Galliani, you never know. We can bring a player even in the last hour of Mercato. I agree with you, but I really believe that this time, like, we won't be making any more additions to the team. Finally, one last comment. I'm going to mention is Super Kaka22. He says, another reason why we can't switch to a formation with 2 up front is because it doesn't make sense to play the only 2 out of how many strikers we have at the same time. And I said this as well a few times. I've said it that, you know, if we do play both Back and Lapadula up front, what are our options on the bench? Yes, we have guys like Cutone, but could we really depend on the guy? Let's say if Back and Lapadula is injured, could we really depend on the guy being a starter or being an impact substituter like Lapadula is? Personally, I don't think so, at least for the moment. But that's gonna wrap it up for today's news. Thank you all for joining me on this live stream. Tomorrow will be the last day of the transfer window. So tomorrow is the deadline day. Like I said, I'm not expecting any more signings, but anything can still happen. Let me know what you guys think about Bonaventura and De Sciglio's injury once again in the comment section below. For now, that has been all. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to Rossoneri TV to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan on a daily basis. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow for another video. This has been Gio signing off, and as always, Forza Milan.